Welcome to our 50th episode of Two Tankers and a Cat. We're your host. I'm Charlie.
And this is Russell.
50 episodes.
50th episode.
Wow.
Where has the time went?
You know, we have done so much. This episode, we are going to, just kind of kick back and talk about our past and talk about where we're headed with the show and some of the things that is happening. And, so if you're tuned in for a specific reason, I don't think we're really going to talk about anything. I mean, we might hit on Operation Spring Awakening.
Yeah.
That was a pretty interesting thing I wanted to go over.
Yeah.
But I guess let's talk about our viewers and our people that send us stuff. I think I want to talk about, some of the Facebook comments that we've gotten and stuff like that. So let's start with our friend Hector. Hector is now working in that new museum up in Wyoming.
Yeah.
And Hector, we're going to get up there.
The official name, I believe, is what? The National Museum of Military Vehicles?
Yeah.
Is that what the name of it is? Yeah.
And if you guys are looking for that, definitely visit their website.
Oh, yeah.
Hector's over there now. We're going to get up there. We're going to take Hector somewhere to eat. I don't know if that place has anything to eat.
I don't know what all they have.
We've had so many comments that they're like, you and Russell talk about food a lot. Well, we're kind of connoisseurs.
Yeah.
After traveling all over the world or all over the United States.
I've still got my favorite, but I'll mention that later maybe.
Oh, wait a minute. What's your favorite?
I don't know. I think it was the aged steak there in Montana that time.
What was that? The Silver Star?
Yeah.
Cattle?
Yeah.
Cattlemen's Club?
Something
or whatever.
Like that, yeah.
I'm telling you, people, I didn't know what an aged steak was.
Oh, man.
And if you don't know what aged... I thought, wait a minute, why do I want a steak that's aged 30 days or something like that? I don't know if that's a good... No, if you've never read up on aging a steak, you want to go have that. Montana has got the best steaks.
Oh, man. I was so impressed with that. Yeah.
Is Sturgis over yet?
I know it was going on here a few days ago. I'm not sure exactly when it ends, but yeah, it's...
during a pandemic, let's get 300,000 bikers together and give them alcohol.
Sounds like a great idea, doesn't it?
Yeah. And if you're one of those people, hey, you know what? God bless you.
More power to you, man.
Absolutely. I hope everybody's being safe, and, I hope everybody up there had a great time. But when we went...
It was a ghost town.
It was a ghost town. If everybody thinks Sturgis is a party town, you are mistaken.
Yeah.
But they had really good steaks.
They really did.
We've ate steaks up there.
Yeah.
And see, when Russell plans these trips, he knows that I'm really picky about where we eat. The first couple of times he says, well, we can stop by Subway. And I'm like, really?
Nah, that was just for lunch. We didn't eat that kind of food for dinner.
Yeah. But I'd say, let's find something really nice. Let's look and see what some of the places had 5 stars. Do you remember out in Utah, we went up to that, it was a country music bar, but it was a restaurant during the day.
Yeah.
And the food was amazing. But the little girl that, she was a Native American, and she lived on the reservation out there.
Uh-huh.
And I asked her for queso sauce, and she's like, queso? And I said,
the hell are you talking about, boy?
Yeah, I said, can I get a cup of queso? And she was like, I don't know what you're talking. She had to go back and ask the chef, and I think they jumped on the phone and they're like, "Oh, melted cheese."
Yeah.
Yeah. We got that. We just don't call it that.
Oh man.
And I'm like, well, I feel stupid now, but thanks for. I thought everybody knew what queso sauce.
It won't be the first time, though, Charlie.
It will not be the last. It will not be the last. What else? We want to talk about Sean Poole.
Yeah.
Sean Poole. He's one of our strongest critics.
Oh wow, it's nice though. He's taken time out of his life to kind of critique some of the stuff we've done in the past, some of our past episodes, and
the simple fact that he is actually, listening to our show, coming up and saying, "Hey, you said this, and this is incorrect," or this. We appreciate it. We look at it and go, okay, he's right. Because, the first couple of times that he sent us stuff, I'm like, oh, I'll prove him wrong.
Yeah.
And I researched it and I'm like, wait a minute, I better go, check out the, what I said in the, episode. And I got to go, oh, he's right. I did mess that up. We are not perfect.
Hey, far from it.
We're still getting people saying, "Hey, you guys put Mark Whitman on." I'm like, yeah,
Lordy.
yeah.
No, my fault. That's all my fault, there, guys.
And everybody said, "Oh, so you basically Russ pulled a Charlie," and I'm like, "Hey, quit picking on the fat kid." Sean Poole, we appreciate you.
Oh man, yeah.
Shout out.
Thank you.
There's just so many other people that, help us out and do really cool stuff.
Yeah.
Even in my game, World of Tanks, I've been having a lot of problems, and there's a really, really great player. And I don't know his name, but he goes by the gamer tag General Hines. General Hines.
Yeah.
And he takes time out and he answers questions. My PC blew up the other day and I said, "Hey, what do I need to do?" He got me on the track, got it back up, and now it's running way better. He explained what an SSD card is.
Yeah.
A solid state drive.
Yeah, that would be it.
You know what? I'm real happy with that right now. And Antonio
Bernarda.
We kill his name.
I know.
But
you'll have to send us a voice message or something with how you actually pronounce it.
You know what? If we are killing your name ever, feel free to call that number. It's kind of a weird deal. It rings like 4 times, and then you got to push a number to leave a message.
Yeah.
But yeah, you can call us. You might have to use a world code, because I didn't know. I just thought people like Craig Moore could just pick up the phone and just hit dial and call us.
It takes a little bit more from over there.
Yeah. So you got to put in some kind of weird world area code or something like that. I don't know. But Antonio's been just awesome.
Oh,
he's always sending us links and stuff like that.
And thank you guys for the suggestions for upcoming episodes. We will use those, believe us. We will use those in future podcast episodes.
We're not running out of tanks.
No, we never will.
We have gotten probably hundreds of emails and comments. They're like, "Are you guys just World War II tanks?" And I'm like, No. We've talked about...
That's just kind of a starting point, I think, that we started with.
Well, that's when a lot of tanks... Yeah. I hate to say it.
And we've covered some of the more modern stuff, too.
We've covered, the Mark 1, and we're going to... I think episode 51 or 52, we're talking about the first German tank in World War I. I can't remember what the name of that thing is. But and then there's a French tank that I found that they had, a great big behemoth.
Yeah.
So we're going to be looking at that. Probably talk about both those in one episode. That'd be awesome.
Oh yeah.
But there's just so much going on in tanks and military vehicles and stuff like that.
Yeah.
We've talked about the Stryker. We've talked about the M1 Abrams. We've talked about modern battles.
Yeah.
But, I hate to say it, World War II has a ton of history.
It really does.
Now, we've gotten some heat that people are like, well, you guys don't whitewash history. And I said, we will never do that. Everybody, like a couple episodes we were talking about the SS and the Hitler Youth, tank division and stuff like that. And the atrocities that happened. But we've had people come up and say, well, you're kind of forgetting about the Wehrmacht, saying that they were totally innocent. And so I'm like, no, we have always said, go crack a book.
Exactly.
What?
We're here to pique your interest.
Yeah. We're trying to expand the history. We're trying to get people to join us doing these things. We've had probably 20, 30 people try to do a podcast as long as we have.
Yeah.
We've had gaming companies and YouTubers and everything. They all fail after so many, tries.
Yeah.
But we're like, no.
Exactly.
We want the competition.
Yeah, we really do. Yeah.
If yours...
Come on. The more information out there, the better, man.
Absolutely. The more people that are getting behind that.
Yeah.
Going to these museums, look at all the new museums, even the Army's building now.
Oh, man.
Look at Rob.
Yeah.
Rob had that old shack.
Yeah.
And all these historical...
And all the tanks that were, stored outside under a tarp.
Or sitting there rotting.
Yeah. And he's doing a good job of fixing that.
And there's been guys before Rob that did their best. If you don't know, the Tiger tank and the Tiger II tank that we have here in the United States, they were forced to cut open the side of it so they could designate it a training aid just to keep it from being trashed.
Yeah.
And we've talked about so many tanks that are lost to history. And here's somebody like Rob that really is, getting his hand dirty, going to these meetings and putting on, fundraisers and stuff to get money. He's got his brand new building.
Yeah.
And I'd like to think that our listeners help that out.
Oh, yeah.
And then you got people like Craig Moore, who's one of the most well-read and, researched all these tanks and has done books on it. His book, Tank Hunter, here's a guy that did all that stuff, shipping and stuff that we were having trouble. He shipped these books over. Just say, here, Charlie.
Yeah.
I want to give you this.
Yeah.
Here, Russ, and give one away. How awesome is that?
Know. It's incredible. I mean, just through the podcast of some of the guys we've met and their interest, in tanks and military history. It's incredible. I mean, and otherwise we probably never would have met most of these folks that we communicate with.
And you communicate with like Ed and Francis Pullman and all those guys that are out there working in archives, digging it up.
Yeah.
We grab what we want out of that,
sure.
The interesting parts, and then we throw it out there.
Yeah.
And people are like, well, you're kind of sugarcoating a lot of stuff. No. Crack a book, even like Sean Poole. He's a perfect example. We forced him to crack a book and say, no, you guys are wrong.
Yeah.
Awesome.
That's what we want.
You know what? Somebody is listening to our show, right now, and they're going to go out and buy Craig's book, Tank Hunter.
Yeah.
And they're going to open it and they're going to listen to our first episode and say, well, no, you guys are wrong. Yes. But we appreciate you, getting out there, spending money, going out and seeing and researching. We were talking about recipes. I found the recipe of John Wayne's chili and a couple other meals that he actually autographed his recipes, and I sent one to Craig Moore. I'm like, you know what? That's what we need to do is, I don't think people like in different countries, they look at Americans and they're like, bacon cheeseburgers with lots of grease, or Coke. They drink tons of Coke. You're right. we do.
Yeah, we do.
We do. And fried chicken.
Yes.
Yeah, we do. But there's a ton of other stuff. And now we've spread this out. People are interested in what we're talking about, these aged steaks and like something like a Chicago hot dog or a New York style pizza.
Mm-hmm.
They're like, well, what's the deal with a New York style pizza? You know what? You can actually order them now, and they come freeze dried or whatever, and you can just put them in the oven, and they're delicious.
Man.
So, well, we got off tanks again.
I know.
When you talk about military, you need to talk about what they had to eat. We have the Liberty Memorial.
Yeah.
And both you and I went up there, and they actually cook recipes from World War I, and they make it all up. The famous, how do you say it? Chip beef on a shingle. Chip beef, so, on a shingle.
Yeah.
So
crap on a shingle.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. Thanks. But we went up there and had trench hash.
Yeah.
A trench stew, the chip beef.
Yeah.
They cooked this up exactly how it is. We'd love to tell you it was delicious.
Hey,
it wasn't. I mean,
if you were starving and hungry, it probably was some pretty good stuff.
Yeah, if you're sitting in a trench and you got water up to your ankles and you're soaked and you haven't ate anything, that would probably be awesome. So.
Man,
it's kind of like,
and if you don't know where Liberty Memorial is, I know we've talked about it before, but just to kind of as a reminder, it's in Kansas City, Missouri.
Right, and that confuses people a lot. There's a Kansas City, Kansas. Yeah.
Both sides of the line.
There's the state line, basically the river. One side's Kansas City, Kansas, and one side's Kansas City, Missouri.
Yeah,
makes it real difficult. Because people just assume Kansas City would be in Kansas. No, the major part of it is in Missouri.
Yeah.
You know what they called Kansas City on the Missouri side before they called it Kansas City?
No.
Possum Trot. Kansas City's original name was Possum Trot. What a bunch of backwards hillbillies.
Holy moly.
That kind of tells you where we are, folks.
It's the area, huh?
I was reading a meme the other day, and the meme said parent was looking at the kid and saying, well, are you going to be a doctor or are you going to be a lawyer? And he just kind of looked up at his dad and he goes, I'm going to be a tank historian. And people are like, contact me and Russ, and they're like, oh, you guys are great tank historians. No, we are not. Man. People like Craig Moore, Ed Webster, people like that.
Yeah.
We are the frosted
We're just
flakes.
trying to get the interest out there is what we're doing.
But, if you want to call us tank historians, we sure are.
Shoot.
I know we apologized to Tony's wife.
Yeah, we did.
But I'm pretty sure that...
I hope that she does continue waking up at 3 a.m. just to listen to us, though. I mean, that means a lot.
That's crazy.
Clear down under, yeah.
Yeah.
Man.
Oh, now you're going to get in trouble for down under. That's Australia.
No, I know. Gosh darn it. But you're under the equator, dang it. That's what I'm getting at.
Yeah.
Gosh.
You know what?
I don't think we can win.
Yeah, we you know what? Let's just be honest. Tony, don't let her listen part.
Yeah,
we are lousy with women. Rush's woman and my woman, they just look at us sometimes and they just shake their head and they're like, "You guys are just Neanderthals or you're
weird.
We're weird." We apologize, but where we've come with the show, we've got fan clubs now. Can you believe that?
Man,
we have.
It's incredible.
We have a fan club.
And I know we're closing in on Podbean, which is the server that we started out on well over a year ago, close to 12,000 downloads now. It just blows my mind. I thought, I had no idea this would.
And then I get an email from Spotify that said, "Hey, we're carrying your podcast now."
Yeah.
And I'm like, wait, Spotify?
All the major outlets that you can get a podcast now is pretty much
we're on.
Has our
and that
podcast.
shocks us.
I know.
And people are, messing. Hey, love the show, and you guys are funny, and
this has been great.
It's been great.
Love it. Yeah,
and we're looking forward to episode 100.
Yeah, but Charlie, okay, let's talk now about where did we get this idea to make this podcast?
God, I think we were both exhausted.
Yeah,
and were we going to South Dakota?
I think we just changed time zones.
We were
in South Dakota.
Out in the middle of...
We were between Pierre, South Dakota, and Rapid City.
And people...
Out in the middle of nowhere.
Our good friends that are listening to us overseas, look up South Dakota Badlands.
Yeah.
And we were going through there. Yeah. And I mean, there's nothing.
There's nothing.
There's no gas stations. There's no trees.
We were out in the backwoods.
It looked like Mars.
Yeah.
There's a reason they call it the Badlands.
Yeah.
Because we didn't even have flying insects because there's nothing the insects can't even live there.
Yeah.
You come down to Missouri and drive through there at night, your windshield, you got to pull over every 20 miles to wipe off the bugs off of your windshield because you can't see. But South Dakota, there was nothing out there.
But anyway, getting back to how we come up with the idea of doing this podcast, I mean, I think I was getting Charlie to listen to one of my true crime podcasts that I've been listening to for several years.
The guy was in a shed.
Yeah. True Crime Garage, I think was the name of that one.
True Crime Garage.
And I said, Charlie, we probably ought to try one on our own on tanks. I don't think there's really a lot of podcast content out there on talking about tanks.
And there's not. Even to this day, there's a few. I know Francis Pullman's got his, and I listen to his. And steal stuff from him. I steal a lot of stuff from a lot of people. Even Nicholas Moran, who works for Wargaming, but he's a big tank historian.
Yeah, he is.
But he'll even say, I don't classify. Yeah. I don't have a master's or a doctorate. He's just a regular guy like us.
Yeah,
and he's cool. I like him.
Oh yeah.
And he'll always answer back and stuff like that. Yeah, we were listening to True Crime, because we're cops. Yeah. And we were listening to this, and he said that, and I said, you know what? That's a great idea.
Yeah.
We have a very limited market. I mean, the True Crimes Garage, is that what it is?
Yeah.
Well, everybody can tune into that.
Oh yeah.
And if you've never heard them, they talk about some really good stuff.
Yeah.
And it's called True Crimes Garage.
True Crime Garage. Yeah.
Yep. So look that up on your podcast.
Yeah.
And let them know. Hey, listening to your show from a couple of tankers. But
that's kind of where we got our start. I mean, we were already going around and looking at tank museums and everything before then. But we just kind of decided to try this out, see where it would go, and it's been a neat ride.
Yeah. Can you remember how me and you got to be really good friends? We were working as cops, but you were working day shift, and I was working evening shift. See, when I got hired on there, Russ had already been there a few years. When I met Russ and everybody, Russ had the reputation of being kind of quiet.
Yeah.
And everything like that. I started playing this World of Tanks game, and I talked to Russ about it, and Russ would actually overhear and get involved in the conversation. Next thing I know, me and Russ are planning our first trip.
Heck yeah.
And I actually had the chief of police bring me in, and they're like, are you friends with Russell? And I said, yeah, he's a great guy. I said, he's really funny. And he's like, I've worked with him, 8 years or whatever. And I think I can, had 20 words between us. I'm like, oh, you get him in a car, he won't shut up. But you remember our first tank was?
Our first tank. I know what our first major trip was, but I don't remember going and actually looking at any tanks before then.
All right. If you guys are up on current events, if you're not, look up Tulsa and protests.
Okay.
We are in Tulsa, and let's just say we're in the wrong neighborhood.
The north side of Tulsa is a place you really don't want to visit too often.
Well, and we don't want to say anything negative to Tulsa, and we're not insulting the city of Tulsa. They have a wonderful aquarium, a great zoo. The people are friendly, and the food in Tulsa is really good.
Yeah.
There are some rough spots, like anywhere in the world, and we're in it. And Russell looks at me.
We really didn't know that's where we were going at the time. That's just the address that we had that led us there.
I'm saying, I'm following this GPS at the time, my Garmin, and I said, I think it's up this road. And Russell's like,
Not
Charlie,
sure that's a road.
that's somebody's driveway. It's gravel, and I'm like, I'll just go up there. So we pull up, and sure enough, what's sitting right? We pull up into this, house, and there's a Tulsa, Oklahoma bomb squad and canine unit car sitting right next to a Conqueror tank. You remember that?
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
And I said, stop. And he's like, man, this is somebody's house and it's a cop. I said, I don't care. I'm getting out and taking pictures. Sure enough, I'm out there taking pictures, and here comes this Tulsa, Oklahoma, police officer walking out with his gun,
Yep.
And typical Charlie, I'm like, hi, I'm Charlie Chapman. I'm here to look at your tank. And I said, we're police officers too. He goes, you guys are cops? And I said, yeah, here's our business cards. And he's like, well, let me take you back. It was Kiwi Imports.
Yeah.
But that was our first thing. And he goes, how did you guys find us? And I said, well, believe it or not, we were looking tanks and you were on a list.
Yep.
And he goes, I didn't give permission to be on any list. And I said, well, you're on the list.
Sorry, but you're there.
But that's the place where we saw the A30 or the Charioteer.
Yeah, Charioteer, yeah.
That was our first British.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, it's a Comet. And he goes, no, it's a Comet's body, but it's a Charioteer. Yeah. It's got a 20-pound gun and da-da-da.
And pretty much what this guy does is import British tanks, mainly British tanks, and fixes them up and sells them back to museums and stuff like that.
That's a fact.
Yeah.
And I try to keep contact with him and stuff like that, but I don't think he was really interested.
I know.
But
he was nice. He took out time from his day and took us to show us what he had back in his shed that he works on all this stuff in, and it was really neat.
Just imagine me and Russ pulling up to your driveway and jumping out and saying, wow, hey, look at this.
And the police canine in the kennel in the backyard going crazy.
Yeah, dog was like, let me out. I went to eat the fat kid. I'm like, oh.
But yeah, you're right. That was the first tank that we seen on our trip.
Yeah, and I've got a picture of you right by that.
Yeah.
With a kind of worried look on your face, like, hurry up and take the picture so we can get the hell out of here. And then we went, where'd we go? Straight down the road to Oklahoma City.
Oklahoma City, yeah.
What? I can't ever remember. I know it's like the Thunderbirds. Oh, the 45th Infantry Thunderbird Museum in Oklahoma City.
Yeah.
Do you know I've had probably 4 or 5 people that live in Oklahoma message me and said, there is not.
I had no idea it was there.
They're like,
I'm telling you, it's for being right in the heart of Oklahoma. It is a really neat museum, guys.
And again, like I said, if you're planning a trip, Oklahoma, you can see the bombing site, the Oklahoma City bombing, the that was terrible. We went
Remember
there.
a federal building when they bombed it?
Yeah.
The terrorist attack. Yeah.
Yeah. And then we went to the tank museum, which was amazing.
Oh, wow.
And then I think that was the first time we got hit in the face with the reality of how dark war is.
Yeah.
Me and Russell went through, of course, looking at the tanks first.
Oh, yeah.
And they've got
tons of stuff outside their tank.
They've got over 75
man.
tanks.
Yeah.
And they've got everything from like the M103 to the Stuarts, the Shermans, Pershings, Pattons.
I mean, that was my first major museum where they had a lot of tank displays like that. I just never been around anything like that before.
Right. And that's where they set the hook. But I'm telling you, when we actually walked in the museum and started going through the stuff, and they had a bunch of cool stuff, in the museum. You're like looking at, the World War II Army ambulance that they had in there, and they've got some of the machine guns and some of the Revolutionary musket rifles, and some of the Spanish-American War rifles up there. But we turned the corner and we got into the Dachau concentration camp area, and our mood changed completely. They had the canisters of that powdered gas that they added with water to gas the people. It really started hitting home. Oh, yeah. But what really freaked me and Russ out, they had got the mirror from Hitler's bathroom from his eagle's nest, and it was made of ivory, elephant tusk.
Yep.
And they had it hanging in, and I'll never forget, I looked in there, and it was the creepiest feeling. And we're talking about two cops that have raided crack houses. We've been in dangerous situations. Yeah. And I'm telling you what, that was the creepiest thing I ever saw.
Yeah, it was spooky.
Yeah. So you might,
knowing that you're sitting there looking in the same mirror that this
person, Adolf Hitler
actually looked into.
Yeah, sat there and looked in the mirror and shaved and brushed his teeth, but would sit there and everybody else does, talk to himself in the mirror.
Yeah,
and it was evil.
It was.
It was evil.
Yep.
When we got back in our cars, in our car, and even that night when we were in the hotel room, it stuck with us. Yeah. So if you get a chance to go down to the 45th Infantry Thunderbird Museum in Oklahoma City, it's worth it.
Yep.
I mean, the tanks and everything is wonderful, and they have the comedian Bill Malden's cartoons. If you don't know who Bill Malden is, he was a famous World War II cartoonist. Yeah. And they have a ton of his stuff. In fact, the Snoopy comic, with Charlie Brown and Snoopy and all, him and Bill Malden were real good friends. And I'm like,
man.
But the 45th, if you're interested in the Korean War, they have their Korean War stuff in there. But if you ask me, is it worth the drive just to see a mirror?
Man, I'll tell you what.
Yeah.
You'll see some history at this museum, I promise you.
Great museum.
Oh, and don't forget to stop by Hooters on your way home for dinner.
Okay. I think that was Russ's first experience.
No, I've been to...
had you been there, Ron?
Yeah, I've been to
Hooters.
Yeah.
But
they're always a good place.
If you guys don't know, and I keep forgetting that there's people in Portugal, do yourself a favor. Look up the restaurant Hooters, Hooters, and they had Bricktown, which is their
downtown Oklahoma City. Yeah.
Downtown is kind of like their nice plaza type area, but they had a Hooters restaurant in there, and it was they got really good chicken wings. I love their chicken wings. I even take my girlfriend. Yeah. She'll go, "Are you seriously going to take me to Hooters?" And I'm like, these girls that work there are, younger than my daughter. I'm not in. I want their chicken wings. And she sits there and watches, make sure I don't look at anything.
Uh-huh.
We got back out to the car, and she says, you didn't look at any of those girls. And I'm like, well, number one, I'm not stupid.
Yeah.
The other thing is, I really wanted the wings. But you got to admit, they're good food.
Yeah, it is really good food.
So if you get a chance,
Yep.
you want to look that up.
Stop by the 45th Infantry Thunderbird Museum in Oklahoma City and
See Adolf Hitler's mirror.
Yep.
And be prepared.
Yeah.
It's not funny.
No, it's not funny at all.
We really don't whitewash history, do we?
No.
But, we had that one guy that messaged us, said, well, the Holocaust really didn't happen. I refused to debate him. I'm I'm not even going to debate you.
Nope.
If you honestly don't believe it, you come to me and Russ, we will walk you down and we will show you the people and the pictures and the documentation.
That's why we're trying to keep the history alive. I know a lot of people's trying to bury it and pretend.
We have people protesting and tearing down statues and stuff. And I'm not saying that it was politically correct, because it wasn't.
No.
We talk about Adolf Hitler and what he did, and they're like, well, that's offensive. You know what? How does it feel to be so weak that you are offended by words?
Yeah.
You want to offend me, you have to come up and punch me in the face. I'm going to punch you back.
Yeah.
But at no point is any of your words going to make me go, oh, I'm hurt. You've got to be a weak person to let somebody's words hurt you.
Exactly.
So, but we get internet bullied all the time. These keyboard bullies, pop in and say, well, you guys suck. Well, thanks for listening.
I know, exactly. Hey.
If you'd like to be a Patreon supporter, we sure need the money, because we're getting ready to buy, a 3-person mic system so we can go to these museums?
3 or 4 different. We can have 3 or 4 different mics set up, and
Yep.
So we can go to some of these museums and actually talk to some of these folks that's in charge of the museums. And
after that trip, we came back and we decided that we were going to do a big trip.
Yeah.
Where was our first big trip?
Our first big trip happened to be through the great state of Texas.
I'm telling you,
man, there's a lot to see in Texas.
And again, so much good food. If you want recipes, look up Texas chili. A little too much for me, but I think we went to the 3rd Cavalry Regiment Museum, and that's where they had the M1 Abrams.
Yeah. That was at Fort Hood, Texas.
Yeah, Fort Hood, Texas.
Just outside of Killeen, Texas. And it's like, wow.
Do you remember how I got us in trouble on that one?
Oh, man. Not right off the top of my head. There's been so many times you about got us in trouble.
All right.
Can't remember all of them.
Here's a good story. So I'm very, very happy. Fort Hood has a huge tank display that's outside. Yeah, you get to walk around, and you got to remember, this is July, and it's like 104 outside in Texas, and we're jumping around, acting like, well, I'm jumping around, and Russ is taking pictures, and I'm like, here, I'm going to stick my hand down the barrel of the Sherman. I'm stuck, But remember that major that came out of his office? He was on the top floor. This is one of the base commanders.
Yeah.
And he wasn't a lieutenant. He wasn't a guy. This is a guy that is a major. He sees us, and we need to put a little bit more into this. Fort Hood was the victim of a terrible active shooter.
Yeah.
And killed a lot of people on there. And now they had, pretty strict rules. And they were being very observant of people that showed maybe unusual behavior.
Yeah.
And me, when I was in front of the Sheridan tank that, shot the, rocket launcher, barrel type thing, I was sticking my hand down there and hopping around. This major comes walking down and walks over to me and Russ and starts talking to us. Like a police officer would do if he's pulling up and he's not sure what's going on.
Yeah.
This guy was professional, and as soon as he found out that we were just two tank nuts rolling around, he was like, "Oh, okay." And then he was sitting there talking to us. But do you remember what happened?
Yeah. They had a test of their
Active shooter. Yeah.
And that's like announcements and everything over a loud PA system outside. And
like here in United States, I don't think a lot of places get tornadoes. Russ is actually the big storm chaser. He chases these tornadoes, and I've been lucky to, kind of be out with him, and he's like, whoop, that looks like a tornado cloud. and we've seen some really good storms, and it's interesting. But they're using their tornado PA system to announce this, they alerted, and the guy said, he goes, "This is an active shooter alarm." And I'm like, wait a minute. We're out in the middle. We're cops, but we don't have our pistols with us. Of course, you can't bring your guns on a National Army base. But we're sitting there, and we're talking to this major, and he's, when we first talking to him, and I picked up that he's kind of trying to fill us out. Next thing you know, the active shooter alarm comes up, and I'm like, should I just lay down and put my hands behind my head? Man. Well, did I set this off? So we take all these pictures.
Oh man.
And
there's a lot to see. I'm telling you what, this 3rd Cavalry Museum has kind of been one of my favorites so far.
Oh yeah.
I'll have to admit, because they had everything from the beginning. They had World War I, World War II, all the way up to the Iraqi Gulf War.
Yeah.
It is incredible what they have there on display.
That was my first Lee.
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember just going up there and hugging the Lee. I was like, oh. And in fact, you took a picture with the Lee.
Oh, yeah.
And I'll never forget that. You were just leaning on it, and I was like, I got to get a picture of this. This Lee is awesome.
Oh, man.
But if you get a chance,
and not just tanks, they have a lot of Soviet era artillery pieces too that they've got out there that they actually captured during the Iraqi Gulf War.
Yeah, and there was a lot of we had a Chinese Type 62, T-55.
Oh, I know.
It was just so wild. They had these, Soviet era and Chinese tanks that they had captured.
Yeah.
And we're sitting there amazed. But if you're looking at like this new Type 62 with the reactive armor on it and everything like that, and then right across the grass, right across the sidewalk, is a Stuart with a little 37 millimeter gun.
I know.
And I was like, why does this make me feel bad? But
they had some neat stuff.
Yeah, they had one of the M103s. If you don't know what that is, it's just an amazing tank. Just look up military or U.S. tank M103. That thing.
Yeah.
That's what we needed in World War II.
I know.
We talk about the Tiger II and everything. An M103 would have been shooting right through it from a farther distance.
Yeah. But that wasn't it all. That wasn't the only thing we got to see at Fort Hood, was it? They also had the 1st Cavalry Division Museum.
Yeah. If you get a chance, getting on these bases isn't what you...
No.
Remember, we had a friend, and I can't say his name, but he's like, "Oh, they'll shoot you. They'll shoot you if you try to get on the base. They'll shoot you." No, they're not going to shoot you. They're going to check your ID. They're going to have you fill out a couple of papers saying that you're not going to attack them.
Yes.
And then everybody's cool.
But beware, if you are from outside the country, you probably will not be able to get onto an American military base.
But if you have somebody at the base sign you in, like Craig Moore.
Yeah, exactly.
Robbing those guys.
Yeah, well, sure.
Met him at the gate and got him in.
Yeah.
So if worse
But
comes
you're
to
going to
worse,
have to know somebody
right?
if you're from out of the United States.
And if you are planning a trip to Fort Hood and you're from the outside, give us a holler.
Yeah.
We'll find somebody to walk you through the gate.
And the other thing is, don't forget that I know that's probably coming up pretty quick. That even with your United States IDs from the different states, it'll have to be the federal ID approved.
Yeah.
Have to have the special star or whatever on it to be able to get into. So
and people that are listening to us, like in New Zealand, Portugal,
probably
and
won't
Germany,
know what that means, but
here in the United States, Homeland Security's making us have special IDs now and holographic, and I'm not saying that it's a bad thing. It's sad that we've had to do this.
I know,
but every time that we let our guard down, somebody punches us in the face.
That's it.
So if they got to keep their guard up 24/7, that's what we got to do.
That's it.
It's kind of like this new pandemic thing.
I know.
I'm walking around with a mask and everything and staying at home. And
just hope we're not doing it for every little new flu that comes along.
No doubt.
But anyway, good news is we did find, when we were looking to, some of the museums that we were going to talk about in this episode, we did find that Fort Hood getting ready to build a new museum.
Yeah, it's supposed to be huge.
Yeah.
In fact, let me pull it up here in front of the computer. How big is this thing going to be?
It's supposed to be about, it says phase 1. I don't know how many different phases they're supposed to have of it, but it's supposed to include about 13,000 square foot of interactive and immersive permanent exhibit galleries and over 7,000 square foot of temporary exhibit space.
So 20,000 square foot.
Yeah. And that's just phase 1, like we said.
So. And they're going to get some of the tanks and put them in there.
Yeah.
Fort Hood's got this new museum coming in. Rob got his new museum, his new building. People, the tank history is growing. People are getting interested in this. Don't let it fall.
Exactly.
Like I said, keep your kids interested. You want to have a field day with your son, but you don't want to go fishing or anything. Go to your local VFW hall and tell him about, the tank that's sitting there or the armored pieces there, If you can't go anywhere and you're stuck in the house, pop open some pictures or play World of Tanks.
Play World of Tanks.
Have we ever told people our in-game names?
I don't know. I don't know if I ever have or not.
All right. If you are ever on the North American server in World of Tanks, there's going to be, my in-game name is Frank44 Mag, all one word, Frank44 Mag.
And mine is R Parsons, and then the number 1.
So if you ever see us, feel free to shoot at us.
Yeah. Heck yeah.
Because I know Rick Schmidt does.
Bring it.
yeah, bring it. Anybody that wants to fight us, you know what? We'll fight you in World of Tanks.
Oh, yeah.
We've had a pretty good time just talking about. We still have a ton of stuff to cover.
I'm telling you. Yeah, we've seen a lot.
Down in Texas, what else did we see? We saw the aircraft carrier.
Yeah, we went on down to Corpus Christi.
Yeah.
But was it on our way back or way down that we stopped in Austin?
Yeah.
Texas. And the National Guard Museum there at Camp Mabry.
Oh, what a great museum. Here's a little known fact. We have people in Texas that are like, Camp Mayberry? And I'm like, no. What is the name of that place?
Camp Mabry.
Mabry.
Yeah.
It's just the Texas, National Guard Museum?
But I'll tell you what, don't let simple National Guard Museum fool you, because this was far from a simple National Guard Museum.
These guys that were there were really cool, older guys.
And the tanks they had
amazing tanks. And people were like, well, what do you mean? It was a Hetzer.
M56 Scorpion, too.
Oh, yeah.
That was my first little Scorpion that I got to see.
Yeah. If you don't know what the Scorpion is, it's just a 90 millimeter gun on a go-kart. It literally, the frame looks like a go-kart.
But getting back to what Charlie said, that was kind of the highlight of the museum. The Hetzer.
Was the Hetzer.
Yeah.
And they had up these little barricades, and you could just walk through them.
Yeah.
And I kind of hesitated, and then the old guy comes over, and he was watching us because he was like, "There's two grown men rolling around on the floor going woohoo, woohoo." And he saw me getting close to the Hetzer, and he goes, "It's okay, son. You can go ahead and
roll on it a little bit.
Roll on it." So I'm like, oh. So I'm sitting there on my very first Hetzer, and I don't even know the Hetzer's proper name.
There's more than one. I don't.
Have we done a Hetzer episode?
I don't believe we have.
You know what? Let's make that episode 51.
Yeah.
Or should we do episode 51 on Area 51?
Oh.
The tanks that guard Area 51, the UFO base. Ooh.
There we go.
We might do that. So after the Texas Military Museum, weren't we just driving down the road and we saw a sign that said drive a tank? And I was like, wait, turn around. And he's like, what are you talking about? We're in a rush, okay?
Yeah.
Because I have a bad habit of, rolling around on tanks, and Russ is like, we gotta go. We gotta go. We've got stuff to see. And I'm like, no. He's literally got to pull me into the car.
Yeah.
But we're driving down the road, and I saw the sign that says drive tanks next left. And I said, wait a minute, take a left. And he's like, what? So we pulled into the Museum of the American GI.
Yeah.
Where is that located at?
It's just south of College Station, Texas. But yeah, just up the road at College Station, you've also got the George Bush Sr., who was president of the United States there for a while, got his presidential museum. So there's a little bit to do in the area.
Yeah, if you're wanting to go, this Museum of American GI was another time that I was sitting back watching Russ enjoy, because it was like his very first running active Hellcat.
Hellcat, yeah.
And that was his first time.
It was impressive.
And I'll never forget, the little girl came out and said, we give rides on that. You can actually get in it and ride around on it. And I was like, oh. But I think they have a Sherman and a Stewart and a Chaffee. Of course, the Hellcat.
Yeah.
They got the Greyhound and a couple of half tracks that they'll run you around.
Yeah. Certain times of the year, I don't believe it's every day that they'll do it, but it's certain events that they have that you'd have to find on their website and look. But yeah. And just recently, they just got a World War I FT-17 restored, and they've got it running around the grounds too now. So
when we get down there, we're going to probably...
We did not get to see that one. That one was not running and everything when we were down there.
Right.
But that'd be worth going back just to
see this
that.
World War I FT-17. And I guess they're letting people ride around in it.
Yeah.
So, that's just awesome.
It is.
That's a kind of a private museum, and the guy, he just loves...
Got some neat stuff inside,
He's even got one of those Vietnam era Cobra attack helicopters hanging from the ceiling.
They've got a Vietnam patrol boat.
Yeah,
inside
if you guys had ever seen the movie Apocalypse Now, and they're going up the river, you can actually see one of the boats.
Yeah,
this Vietnam War patrol boat. They have this sitting in there too, and I was like, "That's amazing."
I know.
Do you remember how we got in trouble there?
Well, a couple different things. Yeah, you had to sit on a tank outside for one.
Right.
And then we went back on their little driving course too.
Yeah.
For a little bit. Kind of an area that was probably off limits that we...
Yeah, we weren't supposed to we weren't supposed to be there. Okay. Again, we really appreciate the American Museum of the GI. And if you get a chance, definitely go spend money there.
Yes.
But we had walked out, and we're getting in the car, and I said, Russ, look, it's down there. It's a Patton tank.
Yeah.
And I said, "Oh my gosh, we got to go down and look at it." And Russ is like, "That's not a road, Charlie. That's where they drive the tanks. That's where they take customers, paying customers, to drive through this part." And I said, "Oh, no, we can make it. We can make it. It's a rental car. We don't care." So Russ is sitting there. He's like, "Man, if we get in trouble, you're taking the heat." Do you remember the old bridge? They had this old nasty bridge that was made out of wood and it was creaking underneath this rental car. And Russ is like, "Oh, you're going to get it." So we went back to this patent tank and I'm rolling all over it. And we get back and thank God it was kind of cold that day. They had a foam box on the back of the tank. And I opened up that foam box.
Oh, yeah.
And now you remember.
Yeah.
And it was full of Texas Red Hornets.
Oh, man.
And I mean, there was probably 200 of those things jam-packed in this thing. And I didn't even close the thing. I just backed away. And Russ knew exactly. If you guys don't know about Texas Red Hornets,
let's just say if they were active on this cold day, Charlie probably wouldn't be here talking.
Yeah. They will sting you to death. They have stung cattle to death. Man. So, yeah. And so we get back and we drive where we're not supposed to be, and we left.
Yeah.
But if you ever get there,
I'm telling you,
it's wonderful.
It was neat. They had enough to look at to make it worth the drive down to College Station.
Absolutely. And the George Bush Presidential Museum was great. After that, where'd we go?
I believe that was pretty much all the tanks, wasn't it, in Texas that we got to see on that trip?
Yeah.
Everything that we put on our list to go see. And like I said, like we talked about just before that, don't forget Corpus Christi. If you ever want to see a World War II era aircraft carrier,
Which one was that? Independence?
Golly.
Oh, isn't that terrible?
I didn't even put that on the pictures, I don't think. Yeah.
But if you go to Corpus Christi and look out in their bay, you're going to see a big old aircraft carrier.
Yeah.
So after that Texas trip, where'd we go?
Well, planned another huge trip the next year, and that was across the northern United States. And into Utah and Arizona and New Mexico.
Right. And
Texas again. Oh, the museum there in Pierre, South Dakota. And they had a National Guard museum there, and they had a Sherman sitting outside there.
Right.
Yeah.
You're right. And that was right across from the Capitol, wasn't it?
Capitol building, yeah.
Yep.
In that neck of the woods right there.
So if you live
they didn't really have a lot of tanks in the northern United States.
They really don't.
Yeah.
Unless you get up around Indiana.
Yeah, Indiana and Minnesota. I think it's got a few.
Russell Tank Museum is up there.
Yeah.
And there was a couple others, but I did that trip on my own.
Yeah. Really, we didn't see a lot of tanks on this trip until we got down to Fort Bliss, Texas.
Yeah. Fort Bliss. If you've never been there.
Oh, man.
I'm telling you.
Yeah.
Great place.
Yeah.
Fun people, too.
Oh, yeah, it was.
Yeah.
It was a blast. And they have a lot of their tanks inside. They've got several outside, but they've also got several, tanks inside that we got to see. And
yeah, they had the M1 Stuart, like one of the very, very first ones that had the little machine gun turret on top of it. I was like, oh, that's silly.
Yeah.
Americans and their machine guns. Oh, well.
The highlight of this trip was probably Fort Sill, Oklahoma, which is the school of the artillery school that we have here in the United States. And they have a huge artillery park that I wish we could have spent more time on, but I know it was hot as
blue blazes.
Yeah, exactly. That day that we come through there, but boy, they had a lot of artillery pieces. I mean, anything you could imagine. Paladin.
The Paladin, Paladin artillery piece.
And really, artillery pieces at the museums we have been to, it's kind of far and few between. I mean, they don't have a lot of artillery pieces, but it's...
But they have some really good ones.
They do. I mean, anything that starts out with cannons all the way up to modern.
But on that day, it was probably 108 out there, and I mean, it was hot.
Yeah.
And no cloud cover or anything.
Yeah.
But if you remember, I put my arm up on that paladin to take a picture and burnt the back end of my arm.
Yeah.
And later that night when we were at the motel, I actually had a burn.
Yeah.
So if you see a tank sitting out there cooking, don't put your hand on it.
Not a good idea.
Yeah.
But I think that was my first close picture or anything of a Bradley, the fighting vehicle that they had parked out front too.
So again,
a lot to see down there. And it is on base, so we'll have to.
That's another one where you're going to have to go in, check through.
Do some planning before you go. Don't just show up at the front gate and say, I want to see the museum, but know where you're going once you get on base too. It helps a lot. And the other cool thing about Fort Sill was Geronimo's grave.
Oh, that is right.
It was on base, and do some research. If you're not from the United States, do some research on Geronimo. He was a
Native American warrior against the United States at that time.
And he is buried there on base.
So, again, we don't sugarcoat the atrocities that even the American Army did against the Native Americans in there. At no point are we proud of this history or anything like that, but we'll tell you flat out, this is how it was.
Yeah.
You know, some of the stuff, you know, that you read about and even read diaries that they wouldn't shoot the women and children. They'd use swords on them because they didn't want to waste the ammunition.
Exactly.
You know, we were giving these people trading blankets to them that we knew had smallpox in them.
Yeah.
You know, there's some real atrocities. So if you're interested in the real, you know, Native American resistance, there's some really great stuff.
Yeah.
It's terrible, sad, and it makes you feel ashamed.
Exactly.
You know, I always was proud that, you know, I had relatives that were, you know, in the cavalry, you know, in the Old West, and now I know it wasn't so happy.
Yeah. But that kind of wrapped up that trip, our second big trip on tanks. I know we've taken a few day trips just to kind of see some of the stuff locally.
Oh, Fort Riley.
Fort Riley, Kansas,
Well, I'm telling you what, if you guys...
Oh, man.
I'm telling you, that's why I want Craig Moore to come to us, because we'll take him up to Fort Riley. I've got people...
Spend a day up there and then maybe even get down to Fort Sill and show him some of the artillery. He'd go crazy over that stuff.
I tell you what, we don't care who you are.
I know.
If you come to town, holler at us. We'll get you a tank.
Yeah, we will.
Even if we got to drive right down a couple of blocks and go see the M60.
Yeah.
But
Fort Riley, they've got the U.S. Cavalry Museum, and they have several displays too that wasn't even at the museum.
Yeah, we were just following GPS. And we were ended up in all these different museums and seeing all these different tanks. There was
the AMX-30 was the highlight of that trip.
AMX-30,
the French AMX-30.
Do you remember how I got us in trouble on that one?
I know.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, let's talk about how Charlie got Russell in trouble again. When you're driving on a military base and you see, you know,
tank crossing signs,
crossings, or military vehicles only, that they mean you should not drive your rental car down the road and go there.
I was on a mission though.
Yeah, you know, he was on a mission. I was sitting there crying. I'm like, oh, let's go. So we drive up to look at this AMX 30 tank, and I've called several people and at Fort Riley, and they said, what are you talking about? We don't have a French AMX 30. I'm like, yes, you do.
Yeah, you do.
And they're like, at no point does Fort Riley have just a random AMX 30 tank sitting at. Yeah, you do. So we're out there And me and Russ are having a great time. We are taking pictures and everything. But we noticed, and this might have been a clue, that there was live fire going on. And I don't mean the guys were out there with M16s, or, little pistols shooting. No, these are Bradley fighting vehicles with their, 20 millimeter cannons firing on a line.
On their range.
Yeah. And we were a football field away, where we heard them going bam, bam. And you're like, oh my God. So we're up there, and from the firing tower, this big tower, here comes another captain who's the commander of the range. He exits the tower, goes down, 4 flights of stairs, walks clear across, and he goes, hello, gentlemen, how are you? And I said, oh, man, we're having a great time, and, it's so great, and we're out here taking pictures of this tank. And he goes, gentlemen, we have a live fire going on. If you're done with your pictures, we need you to leave because it's kind of dangerous. And we're like, oh, because if you remember on the road, it said, beware of ricochets. and they weren't talking about, my pistol round, ricocheted. No, they were talking about 20 millimeter rounds ricocheting back across the road, which would have killed our little rental car.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. We weren't in a rental car. We were in mine.
Yeah, we were in your car.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
So, bad idea.
Yeah.
Bad idea. But we had a great time, and they were very cool.
Oh, they were.
They saw that we were just there to enjoy everything.
And we were pretty much done with our pictures by then anyway. So I got all the photos I needed to that.
And I so wanted to go to him and say, listen, is there any chance we can climb up this tower? And he's like, no, you guys violated federal law. Never mind.
Yeah.
All right.
You will get us in trouble, Charlie.
Like that story about punching buffaloes in that.
Man.
I never punched a buffalo.
No.
Did you see where that girl got trampled?
Oh, I don't doubt it.
She got out at Yellowstone Park.
Oh, Lordy.
Here's an idea. If you're from another country...
Not a good idea.
I thought we made plans in the future to go to Australia. In fact, we want to swing by New Zealand, see Tony, spend the night at his house, totally make his wife pull her hair out with our stuff. I think I'm going to bring him a bottle of Jack Daniels.
Ah, sweet.
Bring him some American whiskey.
Yeah.
And maybe some chew. If we get him chewing, I bet his wife would love it. So anyway, but we do chew here in the United States. Most people are going, what are you talking about? Everybody chews. No, this is a smokeless tobacco that comes in a pouch, and you put it in between your lip and your gum, and you get mouth cancer and die horribly.
Yeah.
And I've been doing it for years. In fact, I got to dip in right now. But we were going to go to Australia, and I wanted to go, and I've punched a lot of. I've never punched any wildlife, but I wanted to punch a kangaroo.
I'd pay to see that.
Well, they had the old cartoons where the kangaroo was boxing and stuff like that. Come to find out, their claws will degut you. They'll gut you like a fish. And people die every year of going up and seeing the nice little kangaroo, and they get like gored to death by these claws at the bottom of the thing. So I'm like, man, I am glad I researched.
Yeah.
So if you're coming to the United States or you're thinking about going up and taking a picture of a buffalo, probably not a good idea. They call it wild for a reason.
Yeah, I'd steer clear.
It's like, I remember when I was 14 and we were up at...
God, you can remember that far back?
But we were at Royal Gorge in Colorado, and they had a cougar come down out of the gorge.
Yeah.
And I told my brother-in-law, I said, I want to punch a cougar. And he's like, you're an idiot. So I started running towards this cougar because I was just going to run up and punch it. and it saw me coming, and it freaked out. It ran like a scalded cat. Be like lightning getting, hot water poured on her or something.
Oh, man.
Man, this cougar came out. And then now that I'm an adult, I'm like, here's dumb old 14-year-old Charlie who just got his red belt in karate. He wants to go up there and punch this cougar in the head. There is something wrong with me.
There is. Yeah, there is.
Where do we go after that?
I'll tell you what, that's been the majority of our...
Fort Riley. And I know we've been to
We've already mentioned the Liberty Memorial,
Yeah.
World War I Memorial,
White
Museum.
Sands.
White Sands.
But, when we went up and see the Grand Tetons, that really wasn't
Nah, there was nothing much up in there.
in Yellowstone.
Yeah.
He just wanted me to, never mind. I don't want to get in trouble. We're going to get in trouble.
Yeah.
Well, how are we running on time, Russell?
I think we're getting up there.
Good Lord. Did we really just sit around and just talk about all this and get almost an hour?
Pretty much.
Lord, ladies and gentlemen, we apologize, but this is our 50th episode.
Yeah.
Now you know the...
But I tell you what, there's so many more museums and day trips that
we need to take. And we're going to take video, and you guys are going to be part of it.
Yeah.
We hope you've enjoyed just to get to know us a little better.
Yeah.
I mean, we've never done an episode where you just really got to know us and how we met. And
we thought it was appropriate to use our 50th episode for this. And
we talked about how we got to be friends and our first trip and how the podcast started. And in the future, we're not going to run out of tanks.
No, we won't.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to go ahead and close the show. But again, honestly, heartfelt, thank you so much for being part of us.
Yes.
And contributing. And
our supporters and patrons. Oh, wow. Thank you.
Let's give our Patreons a shout out.
Yeah, I think we'll do that again here. Yeah, we want to thank our newest patron, Evan, out of Southwest Missouri. Thank you, Evan, for your support. And Antonio Bernarda. Thank you, Antonio. Means a lot, man.
Slam Jamington. You got to say this guy's name properly someday.
Alejandro Martinez.
Yeah. You know what? If we get a phone number for him, I'm going to call him and say, how do I say your name? He can probably tell me how to do it right, and I'll mess it up. Bjorn Ben. Buddy, we're going to get down to Texas.
We'll get down to Texas again. A lot to see down there.
He's got a leopard tank that he was saying. I don't know if it'll support Charlie's weight, but
yeah, might have to
crane me on there.
Burrow out the way in. Get out the grease.
Yeah, he greased me up.
ODS Thero, thank you, man. Been with us for quite a while.
And my brother Rick Schmidt.
Rick.
Mad shout outs to you, brother. Yeah. His in-game name is Voodoo Cobra. So if you see him, please shoot at him.
Yeah. Yeah. Kick his rear. But no, we appreciate all of our supporters, and not only the ones that's, supporting us monetarily, but also the ones that, emails, keep them coming.
Yeah.
Comments, concerns.
Absolutely.
We love it.
We really do. We even love our haters.
We do.
And remember, if you're one of the keyboard bullies or haters that are picking on us, and I'm like, well, bless your heart. That's code for something. Well, what a great episode.
Yeah, it has been.
This is Charlie.
And this is Russell. As always, happy tanking, and have a great week.